Hi guys, my name is Vivianne Boaz and welcome to another episode of the EHS Unplugged podcast. In this episode, we're going to be taking you through electrical safety. We're going to be sharing some of the preventive measures you can take in the home, in the workplace, or some precautions because electricity is killing so many Kenyans. Not just in Kenya, but globally, it's killing people. So with me is a guest who is an expert in this area. I'm just going to let him introduce himself. Karibu.
Thank you, Vivian, and I'm glad to the viewers to be part of this particular broadcast or discussion. My name is Johnson Wanyama. I work with KPLC. I'm a lecturer, and I'm also passionate about safety. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Wanyama. So I thought it best because you do trainings on electrical safety. You do you lecture, as you mentioned. So this is an area that comes easy to you, right? But then people normally think when it comes to electrical issues in the home, then the problem is the equipment. But as we've been having this conversation, it actually goes deeper than that. The problem starts at the design phase. So please just take us through.
Yes, thank you. Now, when you talk about electrical safety, it has so many components in it, and the safety always begins from the starting point of whatever somebody is doing. Whether you are constructing power line out there, its safety starts from the beginning. Now, in homes, also in our domestic premises, safety begins from the start point, which is the design. Okay, how is the installation designed? How the installation is planned to take place. It starts from there. It is not the end product. To have safety is a process. So it has to go through all the phases. At the design stage, there must be some kind of safety. At the installation phase, there have to be some safety. At the commissioning part of it, there has to be some safety. At the use of it, it has to be some kind of tips or measures to put in place. At the maintenance, and then the cycle repeats. At the demolition also. So at the design is the most critical part, because if we don't incorporate safety measures, then all the other phases will not achieve the safety aspect. Maybe just to mention, when it comes to design phase, we are talking about how are the fittings chosen. Okay? What type of fittings are you going to use in terms of sockets, in terms of switches? At the design also is where you choose the cables to be used. The designer, the engineer who is designing has to determine what are the cables to be used. The cable for the cooker is different from the cable for the lights or the sockets. Okay? The cable you use for other items that consume high voltages like showers is different. The cable you use for a water pump is going to be different sizes. So, but that has to be put in the design, so that the contractor, whoever is doing that, has to adhere to that design. Okay. At the design also is where you position items. How do we position those items, the accessories, electrical accessories? Where are they placed? Is it a place that is secure? Okay. Is it a place that there'll be water? Because the water and electricity, they are, as people say, they are enemies. So it has to be very, very critical. And also the loading, it comes in the design stage. Okay. The client has said what are the components, or what is the loading, or what will be in the what in that house. So if somebody is going to have a fridge of this size, and then you design your system such that now the load to that fridge, the socket that you have put as the fridge connector, what is the load of that fridge? Then you end up putting a deep freezer there. So it becomes something. So the question is, how is the loading? What was the design at the start? A socket was designed for a TV. Why is it being used for water pump? Or why is it being used for when a welder comes, is using the same socket? Those are two different loading. So how is the loading done at the design stage? Yes.
Okay. So I think so far he's captured one preventive measure. Everything for you to prevent electrical accidents or incidences in the workplace. it starts at the design phase. So guys, I hope you're on the same page so far. So my next question would be on you're saying we have to get electrical teams all the way from the design phase. Now tell us about now when it comes to installation and testing,
Yes.
who do you engage and how do you know that whoever you're engaging is actually licensed for the same?
Now, according to regulations, Kenya regulations, the Energy Act 2019, the Energy Act stipulates that for anybody to be engaged as an electrician, they must be trained. The people who are trained are the ones to be engaged as electrician. Number one. Number two, training alone is not enough. There should be people who are proven by IPRA. IPRA is the body, the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority. They examine and license electricians. You know, people know IPRA as the ones who raise fees for the fuel
Energy,
and all that. But IPRA also licenses the electricians that we engage in our homes. Why that is very important because is one, the qualified person. These are the people who will be able to know the type of material to be used. Because if I am a licensed electrician, I don't need to be told the wire to use for what? For the sockets. If I'm a licensed electrician, because I've gone through the training, I've done exams by IPRA, I have a license, like a driving license, I can show. Okay? Why that license given that? In case of any accident, you can be held responsible. Because they can revoke that license. You can be traced. So the person who is licensed, one can be able to choose the materials, the right materials to be used. Okay? And this is the person that you need to have, the quality. He's the person who knows the quality. He's the person who knows the positioning, the trained person. Because the choice of materials by this electrician who is now competent enough is very key. The quality of work that he will do is also very critical. The licensed person also, another thing is that he understands, he will be able to understand the drawings, the drawings by the engineer. He'll be able to understand or interpret what is needed. And in case of any changes in load, he can be able to adjust to that. So the licensed electrician is very, very critical because of he will do the right thing, as I may use that word, the simpler word. He will do the right thing as required. The right thing in terms of choosing the wires. Maybe just to give you an example, in wiring, we have 3 types of wires. There is always the light, there's always the neutral, and there's always the earth. Okay? The earth is very dormant. You can do away with it and still your things function. But you'll be now endangering what? Endangering the premises. So if somebody who doesn't understand, he will be likely to neglect that earthing in terms of saving materials to the client. But now at the end of it, he'll be risking the premises, risking the users, and making it to be what? To be very dangerous or unsafe for the use. So yes, electrical works need to be done by licensed electricians, by IPRA. And IPRA has classes. There is class C1, there is class C2, there is class B, there is class A1, and there is class A2. All these classes they are given depending on the competency of the person. Class C2 is normally the lowest. And this person has a limitation of what he can do. He cannot wire a premise that is to be used for public. And he cannot go beyond even a ground floor. Class C2, he can go up to a 3 or 4 story. Class B can do now everything. Class A, they are specialized people. Okay? So they need to, the owners, maybe the landlords need to, or the owners, the builders, they need to engage the right people. And that's where the safety begins. This is the person who knows the measurements or the tests that need to be done on the building. What tests are to be done? The client will not know, or the owner of the building will not know. But the electrician needs to know, I have done my wiring, I need to test here and there to be sure that the premises are okay. Lighting, leaving the house with lights is not enough. The question is it tested? Because electricity cannot be seen. Faults cannot be seen. They can only be detected through measurement. They can only be detected by use of instruments. And that's why you need to have a competent person who will be able to carry out this test. I have connected a shower. Have I left it in a good state? But any other person can, of course, connect a socket and connect a shower. But the question is, a competent person will be able to carry out, have I left it in a good state? That when somebody is there, you are confident that person will not be electrocuted. Okay? When a fault comes, let's say there is a lightning, you are sure that the TV will not burn. Okay? Because why should a TV burn? And there's so many protection. It doesn't add sense to an electrical person. A competent person, the TV should not burn. Why should the TV burn? When there is in the meter board, there is circuit breakers. KPLC has put a cutout in the circuit breakers. In the kitchen or in the corridor, there is a consumer unit with breakers. So why should the TV burn? If a competent person did it, he will measure and ensure that in case of a fault, because a fault can occur, where does the fault go to? Or the excess current go to? Okay? Those are the questions maybe the people need to understand. Because in case of a fault, maybe just to mention, in case of a fault current or any problem in the installation, it is not the problem of KPLC. Okay? It may be the problem of KPLC one way, but the main problem is not. It's normally with the installation. Because if there's a problem, it should not flow to the TV, to the TV or to the cooker or electrocute somebody. It is supposed to go to earth. And that's why there is what you call earthing. One of the main tests that electricians need to carry out is earthing. Okay? Earthing test. And earthing test, you start by measuring the soil. Is the soil okay before you just hit the earthing rod in the soil? Then measure. If the fault comes, will the current go to the soil or it will go to the TV? Okay? The path of the soil should have low resistance so that in case of anything, the TV not to burn. Or if the cooker has a problem, if I touch the cooker, I'll feel there is a shock. So if the earth path is okay, I will not be killed, but it will go to the earth.
But let me ask you this too. Is this information available to a tenant? Because the level you're talking about is now the owner of the premise and the electrician, right? Or the electrical team. Now, for me as a tenant who is coming in to occupy space that I'm paying for, maybe a bed-sitter, a one-bedroom, a two-bedroom house, how do I get access to this information?
I will say that, in Kenya, people like shortcut.
I know.
So the problem is our shortcuts. We don't want to pay qualified people. If you can engage a qualified person, somebody will submit their credentials, apply for the job, rather than picking somebody who did a job somewhere and then say, I want to give you this contract, quote for me. Let people submit their credentials. Understand them. Are they licensed the electrician? Do they have the equipment to measure? That is the starting for when the building is being constructed. But now for the client, customer or a tenant who has come into the house, it is very difficult to be able to measure that. But now I will say this. In case you sense any problems, you sense any malfunctioning of your electrical gadgets, the best way is to bring a qualified electrician to check for you. Not the caretaker, as people do. It's good to bring a qualified electrician. Let the electrician check, starting from the meter board, the earthing, is everything okay? Checking the wires. Okay, checking are the wires okay? That can be an opportunity to safeguard your own house now. Don't look at the caretaker to come and check and say everything okay. No, bring a qualified electrician to check your room. You rather spend more money and prevent an accident. Yeah. And that is that's good. Like for example, your shower blows or your bulb in the city you came, you put it on, it blew up. It is not normal because tomorrow it will not just blow, it may explode or something else may blow up. A TV burned, you go and buy another one. It is not normal. It is good to bring now a qualified person. Why did the TV burn? Why did this bulb explode? Okay? You go to the shower, you are touching, let's say for example, you sense there is some you open the tap, you sense there is some shock on that metallic tap. The question is not normal. You don't just say, this is just a small shock, it will end. No, it's not normal. Bring an electrician to check because tomorrow someone else will go and touch, you will not feel the shock, but he'll be electrocuted and be killed. Okay? So in case a tenant senses abnormality, there's an iron box, and the iron box burned, or it got destroyed because of, it is not normal. Bring an electrician to check, why is this one happening? Okay? You have a socket, and if the socket is burning up, showing signs, don't bring someone to replace the socket. Let someone come and check for you. Because tomorrow, that same socket will be a source of problem.
So I mean, before you go on, I hope you guys, it's a bit clear, pointers, what to look out for when you're in your home. You might think they're very simple things, that spark, that equipment getting heated. It's actually a sign that there's a fault somewhere that was overlooked. So please note these things. But let me just ask you this, when it comes to maintenance,
Yes.
how often should I maintain my appliances? Say from extensions, from if I have my wiring in the house, how often should I go for maintenance?
Electrical systems, and I use the word system, like any other system, electric vehicle systems, it has to be maintained. Because a system is bound to fail or degrade. There is depreciation. And because of that depreciation, there have to be maintenance to ensure that the system functions as normal. Because over time, the electrical system will also depreciate. The wires will wear out. You know, the insulation is normally rubber. Okay? There'll be that wearing out. There'll be, rubber with time, it also hardens and then starts breaking off. Right? So electrical systems it's advisable. After 3 years, you need to test it.
Okay.
It's not about, not necessarily maintenance, but just testing to be sure that the rats are not eating them up. To be sure that there is no leakages anywhere. Okay? Even just leakages. People complain that they're paying a lot of money to Kenya Power. I have seen this, and when I was in the field, there are people who complain that, oh, Kenya Power, why am I paying a big bills? And the one question I asked somebody one day, a good friend of mine, an old man, said, this house of you are almost 60-something years. And I said, this house of yours, when did you build it? He said, this house I built it 40 years ago, when I was still a young man. Then I asked, after those, within those 40 years, how many times have you tested it? He said, no, it just has been working. Then I asked him, where is your earthing? He said, earthing? What is that earthing? Is there anywhere they put a rod somewhere? He said, yes. It was here, but I have put Kabiro. You see, and he was paying big money to Kenya Power. So one, that's the leakage. So if you bring somebody to do maintenance, you discover this earthing was good, but because of now the children have been playing around, they have filled it with rocks and all that. So it's now destabilized. So somebody can discover some small fault here. Okay? Because some of the bills people pay and complain that Kenya Power is stealing from them, it can be corrected through maintenance because of leakages to ground. Okay? And then how often the regulations is that there is no law in Kenya which stipulates for that maintenance. But the electrical international laws, okay, we talk about international electrical and electronics regulations, IEEE regulations there. So any electrician will know that this house I've done after 3 years I need to test. And it's not to test, not to remove any wire. There are key areas they need to test, like the earthing, the insulation, continuity, polarity. There are key areas they can be able to test using specialized equipment. This is something somebody can do within 1 hour, is done. And if there is a fault, is when they can now say, hey, here there's a fault. Can we correct it? Okay?
And is this done by KPLC or still I get a competent electrician?
It is good to get a competent electrician. It's not the work of KPLC. KPLC, if there's a problem with their supply, fine. But if from the house checking if everything is okay in the house, is squarely the owner or the occupant of the house. It's not KPLC. Okay? Test the installation now often. To be sure, test the shower. Don't say my shower has been serving me for 10 years. Suppose it will fail one day. When it fails, what will happen? Because every system, it will normally develop some malfunction. So that shower which has been working for 10 years, no problem. Is there some checks to say, somebody to come and check, say, this shower is okay? Because if let's say, for example, the earthing is wearing out. Some people using salty water. Once in a while, the water is not there, you bring the water baths and then bring salty water. Salty water is very, it consumes what? It has effect, the rusting effect or corrosion on the what metallic parts, even for the electrical showers. So if it's wearing out, one day it has wear out the earthing. What happens? Two things. One, it may fail to work, or three, it may become what? Faulty and pass current. So that's why in checking, maintenance, they help in removing things like that. They help to detect signs of failure in the electrical system. They detect in terms of is the protection okay? Because when I'm coming to, like, let's say if somebody is coming to test or to do maintenance, he will simulate some faults and see, will the breaker trip? If the shower has a problem, for example, will the breaker trip? If I can simulate a fault, in case there's a problem, will the TV burn or it will trip? I will not burn the TV, but somebody will just simulate through that socket for the TV.
Okay.
You put something, you can even short that socket and see, will it trip or not? Yes.
Very interesting. But I have one more question. For trainings,
Yes.
do you think homeowners themselves need trainings? And if you have a house help in the house, do you think they need trainings? Do you think our kids need trainings on electrical safety? Do you think it should go a long way in preventing some of these accidents we're having in the homes?
Yes, electrical accidents are on the rise. And it's one of the headache of Kenya Power and also other other stakeholders in energy. But in a nutshell, everybody needs to be aware of electrical safety. I am aware Kenya Power is conducting a safety awareness through the principals of schools, both primary and secondary, so that they can now, the principals can teach the teachers and the pupils as they grow up about some tips on electrical safety. There's a very big campaign and they are teaching principals across the country. But that's not enough. Every homeowner, the electrician, one of the things, when you use a licensed electrician, one of the requirement by IPRA under the Energy Act is for the electrician, once the electrician does the installation, on handing over, because you need to hand over the installation to the owner of the house, one of the clubs is to train the owner of the house. So that somebody does not come with a stick in the name of you want to put a plug. It is not allowed, as people normally do it. Because tomorrow you use a key, you say, this socket is off, let me use a car key to insert my 2-plug charger. Then you use a stick, okay, it works. Then tomorrow say, I can use a pen. Then the following day you can use a nail, and then somebody is killed. So the electrician, one of the things is supposed to train the owner of the house. What are the do's and the don'ts? The basic one, not the technical one, the basic ones. Like for example, when you are washing with water, please don't flood water until it goes to the socket. It is a disaster. You are standing in water and say, today we want to flood, then you flood the whole floor. It's a disaster. So there's some do's and the don'ts. The electrician of that home or that house is supposed to pass basic knowledge to the user. And that is normally a requirement under law. If anything happens and you go and say, the electrician who did me, he left it. Because how will I know on and off a switch? I may not know. The electrician is supposed to tell you this is on, this is off. Yes. This socket is for the pump. This one is for the ironing. Don't use it for anything else. This one is for the radio and the TV. Don't use it for ironing. This extension here will be used for this, and that's how life is. But now they don't do it. They don't do it. You come to the house, it's on, and say, did you finish? Yes, you send the money, and the person has come, send the balance, you pay the person, you are done.
That's it.
Life goes on.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. This is just for me. Maybe it might interest some of the audience. For extensions.
Yes.
How often should I replace my extension? And if it's a capacity of, say, 6, is it okay if I use all the 6 slots available to me?
I would say yes and no. How often do you replace extension? As long as they are working, you are not supposed to replace, because if it's working, you only replace a malfunctioning one. Number 2, can you use all if it's 4 multi-plug, can you use the 4 of them? The answer is yes and no. Okay? Yes, if it's within the loading. And I want to say every electrical gadget, accessory, it has a loading or a maximum power it can handle. Okay, everything, including a socket. That's what we're talking about. A socket for TV is not the same as a socket for the cooker. Okay, a socket for the TV is not the same as the socket for water pump. You get that? So every electrical gadget, it has a rating. And that's why, that's why we use different wires. There are small wires, like 1.5 millimeters in the that's the radius for lighting. We talk about socket 2.5. Cookers, we talk about 6.0, and so forth and so forth. So every electrical gadget, it has a rating, including extensions. Okay, if you have extension of, if I'm using in a layman way, it has 4 holes, and then you say, me, I want the one, there's another one for 2, so I'll go for the one in 4 because it's bigger. And then what are you going to use it for? Yeah, what are you going to use it for? Because every electrical gadget has a rating. And then you have the one for 4. Then you are putting, what are you putting? TV, you're putting this one, you're putting iron box, you're putting that. The end of the day, you start burning, it will burn or it will burn the gadget because you are overloading it. And by the way, extensions are only supposed to be used temporarily. And that's why they're called extension. They are just extending power from here to here, and then once you are done, you remove it. It's not something to be permanent. Even in offices, it's not supposed to be permanent. And that's why they need to provide enough sockets. Extension, you are having a meeting outside your office, and you want to tap power. You extend it there. After you have done it, you remove. Okay?
I didn't know that.
It's supposed to be temporal. It's a temporal, because it's a risky from safety point of view, because one, you can even stipple through the cable. Okay, so it's supposed to be something temporal. Use it and then go. You have an event. You need to tap some power for that particular event out there, 2-hour event, maybe a wedding, maybe a birthday party. Tap an extension from the house. Put it out there. At the end of the day, you are done with it. That remove it. Not something to be used forever and ever in the house. It's supposed to be that. But the point is, it has a loading. Maximum rated power. Don't just put things there for the sake of putting. Yeah.
This has been an eye-opening conversation because some of the things I didn't even know, especially about the extensions. I didn't know about the designing of the house where the sockets are supposed to be placed. So, Wanyama, thank you very much. Let me ask you this: if you have maybe a message to our listeners regarding electrical safety, what exactly would you want to share with them?
What I can tell the listeners and the viewers of this great program is that electrical accidents do happen, but the key thing is that they are preventable. We can prevent every accident. Accident is something, the definition of accident is anything that is unplanned, but they are preventable. We can prevent accidents, including electrical accidents, by having proper people to check on our electrical connections, starting from the design to the installation to how we choose materials and how do we use it. Do we have the knowledge on how to use it? Where do you put or how do you connect, for example, the iron box? So there's a whole thing about it. So my message also will be that electrical installation need to be tested. Before you go into a house, ask even the landlord, when did you test this electrical? I'm going to use an electrical cooker. I'm going to use electrical shower. When did you last test it? Is there a certificate of testing it? Because electrician, they have those certificates they can give you. I've tested it, it's okay. That commitment. Electricity is good. But if you leave it to be a master, it's dangerous. It's a good servant, a bad master. But in this technological advancement, and that's why the government is doing a rural electrification to all homes, because they know for technological advancement, every home must have electricity. And that's why we need more safety. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Wanyama. This has been a very, mind-blowing. But my message to the audience is that electrical safety is key. When you interact with electricity, what happens? It could lead to death. Normally, someone told me once that there are 2 accidents. When an accident happens, 3 things happen. You're offered first aid, or you end up in a hospital, or you end up in a morgue somewhere. You're dead and you're buried, and that's the end of your story. So dealing with electricity needs a bit of care, needs for you to understand what the preventive measures are or precautions to take. So in this episode, that's basically what we've shared with you. what the precautions are, the preventive measures you can take to protect yourself, to protect your employees, to protect your kids. So guys, thank you very much for joining us for this episode. I hope you learned as much as I have. It was a very informative session. I have learned so much about electrical safety, domestic electrical safety, workplace electrical safety. So I hope that you get to share this with your families, with your friends, and with your colleagues. So kindly subscribe when you come across this video. Subscribe, like, comment, and hit the notification button, because every Friday we'll be releasing episodes. Thank you very much, and bye.